too much about me.
You must have come in awfully late last night. Did you see the show through twice?
Stephen, I didn't go to a picture last night. I did what you told me not to.
What are you talking about?
Here it is, Stephen, $150,000.
You stupid little fool!
Oh, on my shoulder, you're hurting me.
Who's with you? Who saw it beside you?
Nobody, Stephen. I got the permit and took it out there, and he showed it to the man in charge of the grounds, and he got a couple of words.
All right, go on.
One of them got it out of the vest pocket,
yes.
And then they put the lid on again and lowered it and covered it up.
You're sure everything was put back again, just the way it was?
Why, yes, Stephen, of course.
Well, I just hate to think he wasn't put back properly.
Oh, then you aren't angry with me?
I guess I acted pretty silly about it. I thought... I don't know what I thought.
Stephen, you didn't suspect me of having anything to do with Harry dying so suddenly.
Why, of course not. What an idea. Look, you better give me that ticket for safekeeping. I'll put it in the safe down at the office till you're ready to turn it in.
That's a wonderful idea, Stephen. It makes me nervous having it around the house. $150,000, Stephen. Just think of it. Oh.
Harry's been pretty good to us, hasn't he?
Don't say things like that, Stephen.
I'm sorry. Oh, good Lord, it's nearly 10 o'clock. I've missed my train.
But if you hurry, you can catch the 10:15.
Well, so you won't forget your sunlight.
I'll start at the 10:15 sharp, I promise.
Oh, I'm sorry to be such a Dutch uncle, darling, but I do worry about you.
You're wonderful to me, Stephen.
Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye, Stephen. Be careful, darling. Come in quickly. He just this minute left the house.
I suppose he took the ticket with him?
How did you know?
I know a lot of things.
For instance?
The DA's ordered that autopsy on the body of your late husband.
My stars and crown.
I think they'll find out he was murdered.
No.
Your present husband, Stephen Archer, is an insurance agent, isn't he?
Well, yes.
And he insured your late husband heavily in your favor just before his death.
Well, that doesn't prove anything.
Well, maybe not. He's pretty good to you, isn't he? Takes you to Florida every winter, stuff like that?
Oh, I should say not. How did you get such an idea?
That coat of tan you've got.
Oh, that. Well, that's from the sun lamp. I had a slight cold a while back, and now Stephen insists that I use the sun lamp for 10 minutes every morning while I'm in the bath.
While you're in the bath?
He says it's more beneficial that way. It's a terrible nuisance, of course. The bathroom's quite small, and the lamp is always toppling over and falling on top of me.
How's that?
Well, I always wait till Stephen has left the house in the morning to take my bath, and then he almost always forgets something at the last minute and comes dashing back and blundering in the bathroom, and over it goes.
What sort of things does he forget?
Oh, well, one day a clean handkerchief, and the next some papers or other things that he needs, or his fountain pen.
Does he keep all those things in the bathroom?
Oh, no, but he can never find where they are, so he comes barging into the bathroom to ask me, and then over goes the lamp.
You don't say. I suppose you're insured pretty heavily in his favor now.
Well, naturally, being in the business.
Yes, naturally.
Mr. Westcott, you don't
I don't think anything yet.
Oh, dear, whatever shall I do?
Tell you what, there's a way to find out if you'll cooperate with me. With your acting experience, this ought to be easy for you. Now, this is what I want.
Stephen, this is Mr. Westcott. He's with the Bulletin.
And what can we do for you, Mr. Westcott?
I stopped in the district attorney's office on my way here, Mr. Archer. They've just completed an autopsy on the body of Harry Mead.
It wasn't my idea, Stephen. Believe me, it wasn't.
You understand, of course, I'm not with the police. I'm in this for a news story or anything else that might come my way.
I see.
I might be able to help you people if you'll tell me the truth.
What was the result of the autopsy?
The report isn't made out yet, but I think they'll find he died of a blow over the head.
Sit down, Mr. Westcott. I might as well tell you everything.
Josie, you don't have to tell this man anything.
Stephen, let me do this in my own way. You see, Mr. Westcott, it was all my doing. Stephen was in no way to blame for what happened. He used to come over in the evenings to see Harry. Not me, but the more I saw him, the stronger the feeling grew on my part. Harry was heavily insured in my favor.
Josie.
He never took me seriously, always scoffed at my love for the theater. I couldn't help thinking how opportune it would be if anything took him away from me.
Josie.
Do I make myself clear, Mr. Westcott?
Go on.
Well, the night Harry died, he had gone out and back of the house to get some air, and I was doing the dishes. And it came over me all of a sudden what I had to do. I dried my hands and went upstairs and got out an old flat iron I no longer used, and I came downstairs with it hidden under my apron and went out to where Harry was. Well, I stood there talking with him for a moment, and I waited until he turned his back to me, and then I did it.
You did what?
I swung the flat iron by its handle squarely at the back of his head. He didn't die right away, but he was unconscious, and I could see it was all over. He had a weak heart, you know. And, well, afterwards, I took the iron over in the vacant lot and buried it. And the rest happened as I told you. Stephen came around, and we carried him into the house.
You mean you didn't notice the wound? Didn't it bleed?
Well, it did a little, but I washed it off.
I see.
And then I took some pinkish face enamel I had left over from the days when I was an actress, and I plastered that over the wound and even powdered it so it would be less noticeable. I made a good job of it because, after all, I do know something about those things, you know, makeup. So that's why the doctor never noticed it when he examined Harry's body.
Josie, I can't believe it. Forgive me, Mr. Westcott, but this is a terrible, terrible shock.
Well, now you know everything. I suppose you may as well drive me to police headquarters.
Why should I?
You mean you aren't going to turn me in?
That dent in his head could have been made by the men who exhumed the body. You and I are the only witnesses to that, Mrs. Archer.
Yes, but look here, can't they
In most cases, in this case, the body happens to be in a remarkably fine state of preservation. Besides, if I do you a favor, maybe you'll cut me in for a little of that sweepstakes ticket.
Oh, anything you like at all.
Good. I'll come back tomorrow and we'll talk it over. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Westcott, and thanks. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Good night, Mrs. Archer.
Good night.
Well, my dear.
Stephen.
I've got to do a little thinking, Josie. This changes things considerably.
It won't make any difference between us, will it, Stephen? I did it for us so we could be together.
But you, of all people, and going out there and then looking at his
But he
body.
was so well preserved, Stephen. He just looked as if he was sleeping. Oh, that's peculiar.
What is?
Well, that he's looking so well. After all, it's been some time. It's just like in the Emerald Snuff Box.
What?
The Emerald Snuff Box. You remember I played it for 33 weeks at the Court Theater, opposite Henry Dixie? That was how they knew that it was poison, because of the way the body looked after all that time.
Poison? Well, those bungling police doctors will never find it out. We can shut up that fool of a reporter with the sweepstakes ticket. That was a windfall anyway. We'll never miss it.
But, Stephen, we can't count on things turning out the way we want them to. I made that confession just to give us a little time. We could take a plane in the morning and be in South America in a few hours.
Oh, that'd be very foolish. No, my dear. Our best strategy is just to go on as we always have. I'll take the train into the office, you'll take your bath and sun lamp, and we'll be the same loving couple we've always been. Josie!
I'm up here, Stephen, in the bar.
Got any idea where my iron pills are? I went off without them.
They're on the sideboard in the dining room. You know perfectly well.
What's that?
I said they're on the sideboard in the
I can't hear you. Mind if I open the door just a
No,
bit?
Stephen, the sun lamp's right in front of the door. Wait till I move.
That you say?
I said don't open the door. The lamp, Stephen. Stephen, no.
Josie? 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 Well, that's that. Now, who the devil is... All right, I'm coming. Up with the buttercup.
Mr. Archer?
Yes.
My name's Madison, Bureau of Detectives.
Oh, yes, Inspector, come in. This is most opportune you're coming just at this time. I was about to telephone the police.
Oh?
The most terrible thing has happened to my poor wife.
Your wife?
She was in the bath taking her sun lamp treatment. Like a blundering fool, I opened the door and the lamp fell over into the tub. I ran downstairs to cut off the house current, but before I could get back, she must
Wait a minute. You went all the way downstairs to cut off the house current? Why didn't you just pull out the plug?
Oh, I don't know. I was panicky. I got confused. There was a dreadful glare of light, sparks flying all over the place. I was half blinded.
Where's she now?
Well, she's still in there. I was trying to get up my nerve to go in when the doorbell rang. I couldn't bear to see her like that, Inspector. Electrocuted. It's just too horrible.
Well, let's go up and have a look. It's probably too late, though.
Yes, Inspector, I'm afraid it is too late, but as you say, we must do all we can.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Archer, this certainly happened at an opportune time, as you say. A warrant has just been sworn out for your wife's arrest for the murder of her first husband, Harry Meade. This reporter here from the Bulletin says he got a confession out of her.
Hello? Oh, poor Josie. Poor Josie. Perhaps it was just as well it happened this way.
Is it, Stephen? Is it just as well?
Josie!
Well, Mrs. Archer, congratulations. You carried it off with flying colors.
What do you mean, carried it off?
My stars and crowns, Stephen, I wasn't even in the tub. I just stood behind the door and screamed when the lamp went out.
Josie, you ought to be ashamed of yourself giving me a fright like that.
It's no good you're pretending any longer, Stephen. Mr. Westcott was absolutely right. You're nothing but a common murderer.
Josie, why, surely you don't believe
That's
it.
what my confession was for, you goose, to trap you. They know all about how you killed poor Harry, where you got the poison and everything. Don't you, Inspector?
That's right, Mrs. Archer.
Why, you're worse than Sheldon Lewis was in the Iron Claw. You'd stoop to anything. My stars and crown, when I think what might have happened if Harry hadn't had on his new blue serge when he bought that sweepstakes ticket. Oh, officer, do your duty.
Josie. Dumb little Josie.
Well, I guess this about ties it. Come on, Archer. Let's go. Up on your feet.
Yes, Stephen. Up with the buttercups.